In this video, we're gonna talk about one of a more advanced structure and Structure.Gantt feature called slices. Slices allow you to determine what information, what field should be used as specific information for structure. So for example, if in some issues you want to have your end date of the issue stored in due date field, you can do that. But at the same time, in other issues, you can store end date in completely different field. In this video, we're going to cover one of bit more interesting use cases than I've just described, so bear with me. This video is part of our ongoing effort to provide best possible training around Jira, Confluence and whole Atlassian ecosystem. If you would like to support us, like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment below if you have any questions, and remember that you can always reach out to us for any of our paid services like trainings, consultations, and implementations. Alright, so let's look at the tool and at my setup first. So as you can see, I'm in a structure. I have also Structure.Gantt enabled. And over here in my structure, which is called project structure, there are basically issues from two projects. Now, especially if you watched one of our previous video, you can know that over here we have settings. And in these settings, we can tell structure that specific fields that are on issue level should be interpreted in specific manner. And so, for example, we can click over here and determine what kind of fields should be treated as an estimate field. Should it be original estimate or maybe story points? What kind of links should be created on issue level when we create dependencies between those issues? In resources, this is the section that will be most interesting for us in this video. We can decide which kind of attribute is treated as a resource information. So over here we have assignee. So when we enable resource panel, we will see that we have lists of assignees of the persons that are used in assignee field with information how much work is assigned to them. So this is all very nice and very flexible. But what if you have more complex setup, right? So maybe you have a project in which part of the work is done in waterfall approach and part of the work is done in agile approach. With these two approaches, there might be differences in how you treat resources. So for waterfall, you will assign tasks to specific persons, specific users, and want to look at resources from that perspective. But for agile part, you are assigning work to the teams. You are not really interested in who's doing specific issue or who specifically does the issue. You just want to know whether the team has enough capacity to do the work. But this basically means that you have, depending on the issue, two different fields should be treated as the resource information, right? Can we do that? The answer is yes, we can. So let's have a look at how can we do that. So if we go to settings again, there is a separate section called slices. What slices allows us to do is pick group of issues for which we want to have different configuration and decide on the configuration itself. So we have some default slices here. I will ignore them. I will just create new slice. And for me, new slice will be about team resources. So you will see that project or that issues in my CP project will be basing resources information based on assignee. But in the other project, DP1, we will look at dropdown, which identifies team. So team resources, what kind of, basically which group of issues we want to define over here. So we can just pick issue types and decide that either story, task, or epic will be in this slice. But for us, it doesn't really work. We may have stories and tasks in both of these projects. So over here, I will switch to JQL and I will just type project equals demo project. This is my other project. And obviously this query can be way more complex, but for me and for use of this video, that's just it. So now we know which kind of issues or which group of issues should be in this slice, so should have different configuration than default one. Now let's decide what kind of configuration we want to change for this group, because we do not need to define everything separately for this issue. We can just define selected elements. So for me, it will be resource assignment. I will click over here and I will say that, okay, for these issues, we do not want to look at assignee, we want to look at team select list. So I will create the slice. You will see that this is enabled. I will save it. Good. And now you can see that list of my resources actually changed. So I have assignee because some work is assigned to myself and it has estimates. So I have numbers here, but I also have values from this team select list. So if we scroll down, you can see that these are exactly codes that are representing my teams. So now I see both what is allocation for my individual users that are delivering work in waterfall approach, but also what is work allocation for my teams that are delivering work in more agile approach. So that already looks very promising. But now you may ask question, yeah, okay, but it looks like, you know, there is exactly the same capacity, 8 hours for users and teams. It doesn't really make sense. Well, fortunately, on each of these resources, you can now click, do the edit and say that, okay, AIG team has 3 team members, TB team has 5 team members, TR, let it live with 8. So you can see that capacity over here changes. So basically, we are able to keep that single person has 8 hours, but the teams may have more hours of capacity. Of course, the setup that we created is pretty simple one. It can be way more complex, both when it comes to single slice. So we will return over here and we can add multiple sections. So for example, we could say that for these issues from this particular project, we want to use different field for estimates, like story points instead of time, right? So again, in waterfall, we may want to estimate how big is piece of work in time, like 1 day, 1 week, and so on. While in Agile, in issues that are coming from project that is Agile oriented, we may focus on story points. So basically all of these sections can be differently configured for slice. What is more, we can create more than one slice. So over here I have 3. I could enable all 3 of them, and all 3 of them could take into account different group of issues and different configurations. Obviously, if one issue falls under one or under more than one slice, then the priority or the order of the slices is relevant. So you can see that slices are a very powerful feature and they give us a lot of flexibility to address our needs and different approaches to work within our structure. They can be tricky to set up, especially if you have situations where there will be multiple slices, each with different configuration. It can be pretty challenging to work out proper order of slices and queries that select issues. But if you have problems with that, you can play around. If you won't be able to solve it by yourself, reach out to us, we will help you. And yeah, I think that's it for this video. Hope you enjoyed it, hope it was useful. See you in the next one.